If you could spend a moment with some remarkable people and discover what their life sounds like, what would you ask? Welcome to Are We On Air? An audio encounter. I'm Armand Nafei, and each episode will feature one conversation with an inspiring friend of mine who will share with us the soundtrack to their life. Welcome back to another episode of Are We On Air? The idea behind Are We On Air was to build a library of knowledge, music, and taste. And this week, we begin the conversation with the important role and influence libraries had on our guest, the legendary musician, artist, writer, and label owner that is David Byrne. David zoomed in from New York while I was sitting in Ibiza watching the sunset. Hence, you hear some birds in the background. I do apologize for them. We, of course, talked about the talking heads and the story behind the iconic words that are, "This must be the place." But we also talked about our shared love of world music and David's incredible music label, Waka Pop, that he launched in 1988. Anyway, you are in for a treat. And as always, you can find us on Instagram, Spotify, Apple, YouTube, and on areweonair.com. And thank you all for your lovely feedback. It's very touching when you send us messages. We love them all. And if you want to say hi, you can always send us a DM. Now, let's get to it. And don't forget to share the love. Well, welcome to Are We On Air, David Byrne.
Thank you.
What a pleasure and honor to have you.
Thank you. So where do we begin here?
We begin by trying to paint a picture of who you are and your life through a couple of songs. And it's slightly chronologically set. So we would start with, what is your earliest significant musical memory that shaped you as an artist?
My earliest musical memory.
Significant.
Yes.
So
yeah.
Whatever, where was the moment? Yeah.
It was probably listening to music on a little transistor radio. For those of you listeners who don't know what those are, they're about the size of a cigarette pack, let's say. And the sound quality was less than a phone.
Music and Big Dan Ingram next on the home of the All-Americans, WABC, New York. More music on
But that was, but you could get kind of AM and FM sometimes, radio things, and tune into a station. So I lived in suburban Baltimore, and I would tune into the local, pop station, top 40 station or whatever. And at one point I heard the Byrds' version of Mr. Tambourine Man. And that was a revelation to me.
Hey, Mr. Tambourine Man, play a song for me. I'm not sleepy and there ain't no place I'm going to. Hey, Mr. Tambourine Man, play a song for me. In the jingle jangle morning, I'll come following.
Not only were the words completely inscrutable, I had no idea what they were referring to. They seemed to be referring to some otherworldly kind of bohemia, some kind of really cool, hip world where people kind of hung out, talked about poetry, and talked in these kind of metaphorical, symbolic phrases. We didn't talk like that in suburban Baltimore when I was a child. I was aware of beat poets and writers from my local public library, etc. So I thought, this has a little bit of an affinity to that. There's a connection there. Some of that, the way the language is used, kind of using vernacular language in poetry as opposed to kind of a stilted language. I liked that.
It's the beat generation. It's bayat. It's the beat to keep. It's the beat of the heart. It's being beat and down in the world, and like old-time lowdown. And like in ancient civilizations, the slave boatmen rowing galleys to a beat, and servants spinning pottery to a beat.
I don't think I knew that it was Bob Dylan who wrote the song at that point. It was just, to me, this was a song by the Byrds. And the music was startling. The 12-string guitar that was very kind of chimey sounding, to me, sounded like the Balinese gamelan. I was aware of gamelan music because, again, my local public library had vinyl that you could take out for 3 days at a time.
Oh, wow.
And they had all these folkways records of recordings from all over the world. I think there was None Such had a series also of recordings like that. I was fascinated by that. It made me realize that, wow, there's other kinds of music beyond the top 40. So there's
another world.
Yeah, there's another world. And I heard this music, and I thought, well, that's exactly what I thought. I thought, there's another world out there. This is a message from another world, and they've put it on the top 40. This wasn't a conspiracy, but I thought it's somehow this other world is communicating to me through the top 40 radio. And I realized that this was the exception, not the rule. Most of the top 40 radio was stuff I was not interested in. It was kind of formulaic pop music that I kind of thought is not very interesting. So
didn't resonate with you.
Didn't resonate. So you'd get something like this. And it also had these kind of very sweet, airy harmonies in the vocal, which were maybe reminiscent of, let's say, Peter, Paul, and Mary.
I rode to Nashville, down to Tennessee. The 10-cent life I've been leading here is gonna be the death of me. But that's another side of his life. But that's another side of his life.
Or the Kingston Trio.
Shady Grove, my little love, Shady Grove, I know. Shady Grove, my little love, bound for Shady Grove. Lips as red as a blooming rose, eyes of the deepest brown. You are the darling of my heart, stay till the sun goes down.
Or New Christy Minstrel.
Say John Henry, there was a natural man. Oh, they say John Henry was a natural man.
Or something like that, kind of folk harmonies in a way, but taken out of context. So they're no longer in that kind of folk context. Now they're put in this context of this very interesting sounding rock music.
But also not in a religious context, right? That's where in a choir you usually have harmonies.
Yes.
But where in the context of folk music, it has a whole different experience.
Yes. It has that kind of physical, kind of singing, vocalization sensation, but it's very secular, but still has those kind of uplifting overtones to it. And so all of that was just kind of opened opened my ears to the fact that there was another world out there, and that someday I thought, someday I'm going to visit that world. So that would have been my first, that I remember, memorable musical experience.
And what an experience. I mean, the Byrds. I think about that period of music, and as we were just mentioning, harmonies a lot. I was like, what is it about harmonies that, I mean, later on, of course, Crosby, Stills and Nash, that it evokes a certain feeling within us. And also Simon Garfunkel at the same time. There was a period of harmonies were kind of taken out of the churches, so to say, and put into a radio format. And became huge. I mean, we're talking about stadium level. And I'm thinking about this a lot. How it makes me feel. Why did it become so popular? Which is great, obviously.
I don't know. I think to some extent I was unaware of technically what was going on there. That there was.
But it's a visceral experience. No?
Yeah, it's a visceral experience. You heard it. You heard it. It was a different kind of harmony. It was in some ways closer to country music. So you had people like not Elvis, like the Everly Brothers.
Bye-bye love, bye-bye happiness, hello loneliness, I think I'm gonna cry. Bye-bye love, bye-bye sweet caress, hello emptiness, I feel like I could die. Bye-bye my love, goodbye.
The harmony was very present, as opposed to, say, a lot of pop music, where the harmony is kind of recessive. It's kind of a ghost in the background to kind of enhance the main singer. But in a lot of these records in this tradition, the harmony and the main singer are almost on an equal level. There's almost a parity, meaning kind of equality, between the various singers that way, as opposed to it being this hierarchical, everything is meant to support the lead. And you got that in a lot of those acts that you mentioned. And it had a different feeling. It had a different feeling than a lot of the pop music. And it seemed to come out of, I thought it came out of like gospel music, country music, things like that. But I was not that aware of a lot of gospel music and country music. I was aware of gospel and country, again, through kind of these folk recordings, these field recordings that were available in the public library. I wasn't as aware of commercial gospel or commercial pop recording, country recordings. I came to those a little bit later and ended up really liking them a lot.
Well, going back to you, and how would you, it's a very difficult one to answer, but how would you describe yourself with 3 records or 3 songs that are not your recordings?
Wow. How would I describe
Or how would you like to be
myself?
perceived as with those 3 songs?
I'm thinking of songs, again, where the words are used in a different way than what might have been used in rock music even, and certainly pop music. And so I heard things like, be like Velvet Underground or let's see what else. Well, those kind of songs are good enough. You heard kind of ordinary language being used as a kind of poetry in a way, as opposed to more kind of self-conscious attempts at poetry. And that was something for me. I realized that the poetry could be the language that we speak. Song lyrics could be the language that we speak and the language that we use to talk to one another. And it didn't have to be this separate world that was separate from our life. Yeah, it could be more relatable that way. I remember, another thing would be...
Do you have a particular lyric or track from the Velvet Underground in mind?
I didn't quite understand. Maybe I still don't understand. This one's like, I think it's called Some Kind of Love. Is that the one? Some Kind of Love. No kind of love is better than others. Something like that.
Some kind of love, a margarita total, between thought and expression lies a lifetime. Situations arise because of the weather, and no kinds of love are better than others.
I didn't know what exactly they were talking about, but it was the mystery of it, but a mystery revealed using kind of ordinary language was very important.
Did you ever get to see them perform back then in New York?
No, not in New York. They performed at a university near where I lived in suburban Baltimore. At a younger age and quite a bit afterwards, there was a lot of R&B that was very influential, whether it was things like James Brown, who I think at one point he or somebody said treated every instrument like a percussion instrument.
I used to tell the guys in James Brown Band, listen, sometimes it don't matter if you don't play exactly what it is. All he wants, as long as you grooving him, that's the only thing matters. If the groove is happening, lock that groove up. Listen, you play bass. You can play a song. and you playing the line and whatnot. But then, what's just refreshing is when you can just put Steve in, kick some Steve up in that line, you know.
Yeah, that the way the instruments interact with one another can be very important, and it can have a kind of transcendent feeling when that kind of mechanism all clicks into place. It's really kind of magical, and people love it. They dance to it, and they find it really exciting. And I thought part of that is because I thought it's because of the integrity of each part. Each part has its integrity, but no single part defines the whole. The whole is defined by the kind of the collaboration or the combination of all the stuff working together. Like a Swiss clock. But later on, much later, this would have been in the late 70s or early 80s, I started thinking, this is also a kind of social model. This kind of music, and maybe all kinds of music. I think I was reading some things about African music, some things by the folklorist Alan Lomax, who wanted to kind of find a connection between people's cultural attitudes and the kind of music and dancing that they did. And I thought, it really is in some ways a model of a social system. And in some cases, the social system is egalitarian and sort of democratic. In other cases, it's very hierarchical and kind of dominated by whoever's on top. And I thought, okay. I wonder if these really, it's probably an exaggeration to claim that, but there might be a little bit of an element of truth in it. That certainly, I think there's an element of truth to the fact that we sense intuitively this kind of connection, this kind of this kind of emergent quality in certain kinds of music, and that is a source of joy for us. It gives us pleasure to hear that.
You're part of it, and I think we also resonate when you hear a very tight live band. It elevates you on a whole different level than just listening to the sound, to the music. I mean, you mentioned some African African heritage. I think Tina Riven is a perfect example of that, where I think it's the combination of these 12 men on stage dancing and chanting themselves and the audience into some sort of trance, which I think this communal, you're part of this tribe experience. It's a tribal experience, I think, which actually going back to our harmonies early on, I think it's the same. I think the same effect in a way. It's a belonging, a visceral belonging. I think.
Yeah, I think an audience really. It happens on stage, but it also happens in the audience, in their kind of viewing and listening and their whole experience. So that's what makes it important.
Well, obviously the past year was not so easy, and we went back to like video-only shows really and live streams. So that part really fell away, and I'm sure it will come back. And I think it's already slowly starting to come back. But how do you see? I mean, there's a new awareness of the new digital norm. Like, do you think live performances moving forward are going to be different, or is going to be a combination, like a hybrid with live videos and live streams? I mean, I think American Utopia and Stop Making Sense were kind of pioneering that pre-pandemic, so to say, like the art of a really well done thought-provoking video performance, right? A live video performance.
What if we could eliminate everything from the stage except the stuff we care about the most? Without cables or wires, what would be left? Well, it would be us and you. And that's what the show is. Everybody's coming to my house. Everybody's coming to my house. I'm never gonna be alone. And they're never gonna go back home. As people, we're a work in progress. Who we are, it extends beyond ourselves to the connections between all of us.
I think, I mean, you can't predict the future, but what's your take on this? What do you think live performances are heading?
Probably like a lot of people, I checked out a fair number of kind of live performances during the pandemic that were, and whether it was Zoom performances or live concerts that were presented on streaming services or things like that. And without being too immodest, it's pretty hard to pull it off. Sometimes it works really well. And other times it just doesn't catch it. And it might even be a great concert too. Sometimes I think it's, the concert has to maybe have an arc to it. It has to evolve and change over the course of the evening for it to work on video or film or whatever. It has to have something more, a kind of story that it's telling beyond just a bunch of songs, one after another. Though they might be great songs and everybody's going to really love to hear them, for it to be that kind of flat screen experience, I think it needs to have something else going on as well. So those kinds of things are great, but I have a feeling that people are really yearning to experience live stuff again. I haven't been to much. I kind of worked with some collaborators to create a kind of live dance event, but I haven't been to much live music yet. I've been to like one thing so far, which was great, but it was a friend who was kind of doing it was called as an Afrofuturist cabaret. So each artist had like maybe 10 minutes, and it was kind of in that theme. And some of it worked really well. Very small audience. I don't know what it was. Maybe like 25 people.
Oh wow!
All sitting separately and masked and everything like that. And so, but I'm optimistic that will change. Things will start to open up before too long, as they have done in certain countries.
That's the big hope. I think this summer we're gonna start seeing, well, in the US, I think for sure, some smaller events. Let's put it that way.
Yes,
it's in our genes. We need to come together. One of the tracks from Stop Making Sense, I'm very curious what your take is on that. It took a life of its own, which is "This Must Be the Place." Why do you think that this phrase, or why is this phrase resonating with youth culture? I mean, from indie band covers to T-shirts and neon signs and Instagram posts. What is it that people feel so connected to this sentence, to this phrase?
Well, I saw it on a keychain the other day that was in a store. I can't.
I mean, what do you think? What do you feel when you see something like this? I mean, I'm sure you giggle, but isn't that funny how something just moved on from you?
Okay, that obviously has some kind of resonance for people. I can't claim to have originated the phrase. I think I heard it somewhere else. It might have been from a Laurie Anderson song. It might have been some other thing that she got it from. But I think for people, it implies that they have found something that they were looking for, that they've been looking for something, whether it's a place, a person, or a kind of more centered frame of mind. and that they've found that, at least temporarily anyway. I think that's what it implies, that they, yeah. But of course, I turned it into a love song, which was tricky for me to do, because I thought, I want to write a love song, but I want to write a love song that's not using all the normal cliches. And because they've pretty much all been used up. And you start, is true, emotionally true as some of them might be, they start to lose some of that impact and meaning because we've heard so many of them so often. So I thought, I have to try and come up with new ones that are equally meaningful, but haven't been heard a million times. And then came up with the words for that song. And then sometime after I wrote it, a musician came up to me and said, this song is kind of amazing. It's all non sequiturs. It doesn't really follow a kind of linear kind of trajectory. And I said, yeah, but emotionally, it all connects. It follows an emotional trajectory, not a kind of traditional narrative trajectory.
This must be the reason why. It's a beautiful track. Well, artists have a sixth sense when it comes to showing us where the world is heading. And obviously the current climate has forced humanity to work from home and avoid each other. Quite the opposite to downtown New York in the 70s and 80s, where it was very dense and it was like a cooking pressure of creativity happening out of that. How do you think will the past year and a half, affect creativity and culture at large?
Kind of two opposing ways in a way, contradictory ways in a way. It seems to me that people realize that they can do things on their own. They don't have to be in the office all the time, whatever, all that kind of stuff. But I think they also realize that there's a real kind of hole missing when people are not able to get together. That there's something really human about being able to be together and interact with other people, just being in the same room with other people. Sometimes that's enough. And you don't even have to be like talking to everyone. Just being together is something that's kind of so basic to our nature. If I were to predict, it would be nice to think that people would value that communal experience and really see the value in it more than they have, say, in the last decade or so. I find that with digital technology and a lot of other things that are going on, we become very atomized. The society becomes a society of individuals instead of a society of communities. Maybe people will realize that we lose something when that happens.
Yeah, it's the human connection. That's the going back to the tribal feel of belonging.
And the trick then is how to be tribal without it being kind of this tribes that war against one another. How do you do that? Yes.
I mean, the current climate in Palestina being an example of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I asked this question, Marina Abramovic, she said, and the same question goes to you, as an artist, it's okay to, you are alone. It's actually great being alone because you're in your studio, you're in your thoughts, you're with your creative work. You don't need the people around you in that sense. as an artist yourself, does that apply to you as well when you create your artwork? Not music in that sense.
I often collaborate, but I also spend a lot of time working alone, whether it's drawing or working on songs or whatever. A lot of it is done alone. But then there's also a collaborative aspect to it as well, working with other musicians or producers or other theatrical collaborators, choreographers, whatever it might be. It's very much more collaborative in that stage than what Marina's work is. And yet, I would say that her core work is performance, which requires an audience. She may be alone as the performer, but it doesn't really exist in the way that it doesn't really come into being until there is an audience there.
So there's a reflection again, an exchange.
Yeah.
It's true. I actually didn't think of that. Yeah, of course. But how important is silence and solitude to creativity or to your creativity?
Pretty important to me. Yeah, moments anyway. Not all the time. I'm right now. I'm in what I think used to be a bedroom in this apartment, and I've turned it into my music room, and it's pretty quiet in here.
Do you listen to music when you create, when you work on your artwork? Do you have something in the background that inspires you when you create?
No. Probably, I'm going to guess that like other musicians, we listen to music with a different part of the brain. We start to, it's just second nature. We start to analyze it. You go into it and you go,
you have to.
Oh, look what they did there. Oh, how did they do that? Oh, that was really unexpected. Or that was beautiful. Or that was pretty corny right there. You're kind of analyzing it as it goes. You're not listening just, I do listen for pure pleasure, but it is often a different part of the brain starts to click in and you kind of do it. Not that you can't get pleasure from it at the same time. So I find that I listen if I'm riding my bicycle in a park, let's say, or someplace not a busy street, or if I'm doing the dishes or cooking, cutting onions or something like that, I'll put on music and I'll listen and I can just really kind of, yeah.
Can you give us a track that's on that playlist when you're cooking?
Wow. Give me it's in the other room. There's a collaboration that the last thing I listened to is a collaboration that Johnny Greenwood, the musician from Radiohead, did with a group of Rajasthani musicians. It's a double album. Well, vinyl. On vinyl, it's double album. That was pretty nice. I was listening to that while I was cooking.
Do you collect vinyl? Do you have a big vinyl collection?
Well, I didn't throw away I threw away some of my vinyl when CDs came in.
No.
Yeah. No. Yeah. You know, the ones that I thought, like a lot of people, I thought, the CDs of this record's going to sound better. And how wrong I was. But I did keep a lot of the kind of the more obscure ones because I thought this may not ever come out on CD. Every time it changes, there's always kind of a culling, different kinds of things become popular and other things get left in the wayside. Every time there's a kind of a new technology.
A lot of the current pop music is created for streaming.
Oh, absolutely.
It wouldn't work on
a
vinyl.
You have to grab attention in the first 30 seconds or 10 seconds or whatever, yes.
Yeah. It's I mean, there are producers specialized just in that, knowing how working with the algorithm of these streaming platforms. But one of those obscure records that you didn't throw away, could you share one with us?
Oh yeah, there's lots of them. There's so many of them. Okay, I listened to that one. The that collaboration that Johnny Greenwood did. But that's a pretty new one. One that there's a couple that I didn't throw away. Oh, one was a record by the McGarrigle sisters, Kate and Anna McGarrigle, and they did a record called French Record, and where they sang every song. They're from Montreal, and so every song they sang was in French, and it was part of their musical culture. And I thought the songs were just beautiful, really nice songs. It's an old record. Yeah, so that's like from, as you said, the vinyl collection that didn't get kind of thrown away. Kept that one.
Pousse mon auto à bout, écoute, le temps s'écoule. Ramène-moi jouer là-bas à l'ombre des tournesols. Largue ta chaloupe, youpi, tant que dure leur folle. Prête-moi tes yeux, tes mains, au pays des parasols. Avant la guerre, je n'étais pas peu fière, mais je t'avais apporté.
I can't wait to one day hopefully go through your record collection, have a look and a peek.
I have others. What did I put on the other day? The other day I also put on, well, some things that came out on CD, when they put them out on vinyl, it ends up being like a double record. There was one by a group called Mouse on Mars.
Oh, yeah.
Nigun, I forget the name of the title of the record. Mouse on Mars, I think they're from Dusseldorf or Berlin or someplace. And really nice record. Yeah, really nice. Sometimes a mixture of electronic and sometimes brass arrangements with electronic beats and things. Really nice.
What was it like back then in New York, like in the 70s, 80s, still the 90s? I mean, New York was still a hotspot for creativity. I mean, there was so much happening. The currency was not money. It was what's your creative output? That was the currency. I mean, it must have been very inspiring to be around back then, in comparison to today, I guess, where it's less of this energy.
When there's things going on around you, you don't think, oh, this is a special moment. You just kind of get on with it and kind of go, oh, look, there's kind of a graffiti artist who's now kind of doing some music. Let's see what that's about. Or, there's somebody who's kind of punk musician who's decided to make a kind of jazz combo. What is that
cool.
going to sound like? Right? And there's all kinds of things like that were happening, which is really nice. But there's a lot happening now too. There's the numbers say that there's more records, more recordings being uploaded now than ever before, more than we could possibly make sense of or ever hear,
or ever
listen to.
Yeah.
So the question then is not like, the question is, how do we hear the stuff that's relevant to us, the stuff that has meaning to us? Yeah.
I mean, that's the conversation where algorithm of these platforms, for instance, dictate what we're listening to, or at least the majority of the people, and then where the so-called music curators, the gatekeepers that still filter and share, become more relevant again, which was, and I include myself into this because that's what I do. But I can see there was a resurrection again. There's more demand for this because it's just so much out there that it's too overwhelming for most people. And
Oh, absolutely, it's overwhelming to me too. So I would, anybody who recommends a few things to me that I like, I will continue to kind of follow their recommendations, and if they recommend something, I'll check it out.
I mean, one thing that I always love checking out, and one thing I admire and love about you is your record label, Luaka Pop, and also that you used at such an early stage, we're talking about late 70s, early 80s, your platform and your voice to show the Western ear Eastern and Southern sounds, so to say, more worldly sounds, and bring them into your own production, also showcasing and highlighting that, as you said, there is another world outside top 40 or American or Western music. That's our shared love, and I admire my admiration and chapeau to you. Was there like a performance or artist that it just grabbed your attention the first time you heard it or saw it and inspired you so much for yourself or for the label?
Oh, yes. This would have been sometime in the 80s. I don't know, mid-80s maybe. I'm not sure exactly when. There were all these clubs in New York. There would be, like a rock club and a punk club. There'd be a jazz place. There'd be, and then there'd be salsa clubs. And sometimes they were all on the same street. So I thought, I'm going to kind of dip my toe in the water and see what all these different places are about, just out of curiosity. And I discovered that some of the salsa clubs were, not only was the music really kind of, to me, very moving. Emotionally, just kind of really sensuous, beautiful melodies and rhythms, everything like that. It was also music to dance to. And I think because other than kind of, say, disco and some funk music, a lot of dance music had gone away. Live dance music I'm talking about. Club music that you could dance to, but live performance that you could dance to had gone away for a large part. And then I walked into these clubs and people were dancing. There was a dance floor and the music was great. And I fell in love with that music. And I think it helped me as a person, psychologically. It helped me kind of help figure things out in how to emotionally be in the world. I loved that music, and a lot of it had Cuban roots, whether it was Celia Cruz or other musicians. A lot of it was, at some point, was referred to as Afro-Cuban music, and then as it became more indigenous to New York, it became known as salsa. So that was one example. I heard that, and eventually we put out some records of Cuban musicians that had not been released in the U.S. due to the embargo. And then we discovered, if we don't record new music, we can record catalog music that's there, and it would let people hear the kind of creativity that's been going on there.
Santa Bárbara bendita, para ti surge mi lira. Santa Bárbara bendita, para ti surge mi lira. Y con emoción se inspira ante tu imagen bonita.
Around the same time I was hearing all this Brazilian music that was also really beautiful, but very, very sophisticated in another way. I mean, musically and harmonically, lyrically, this was not all music for dancing. Some of it was, but a lot of it was very, very sophisticated pop music.
E novamente ele chegou com inspiração, com muito amor, com emoção, com explosão, gol. Sacudindo a torcida aos 33 minutos do segundo tempo. de fazer uma jogada celestial, um gol. Tabelou, driblou dois zagueiros, deu toque, driblou o goleiro. Só não entrou com bola e tudo porque teve humildade, um gol.
And to me, this was like, wow. If our top 40 or whatever could be songs like this, what an amazing thing that would be.
Absolutely, yeah. I think about this a lot. There's so much color and so much depth in world music, and you hear references and sometimes copies, of course, in Western sounds, and I think global pop is huge right now. I mean, I think it reached I think also thanks to the streaming platforms and making it more accessible. Like technology played a big role in this to make it more accessible for the world to experience. But I think it's so important that people see that there is this other world outside and be influenced. And I think that's where music and culture plays a role also to tear down walls and borders. You know, it humanizes each other, us humans, with other cultures. You know, it's not this foreign thing. It's suddenly something that you can relate to. I think that's why it's an important thing to do.
Right now, a lot
share.
of African pop musicians are beginning to collaborate with North American R&B artists or hip-hop artists, and that's happening right now. So I think that's really encouraging. That will kind of open up a door, and I think a lot of other things will get heard.
Definitely. Could you pick two tracks from the Cuban and from the Brazilian records of that time?
Wow. There's one on one of the Brazilian records. I think collection is called O Samba. It's a collection of sambas, but we cheat and kind of put some other rhythms in there as well. There's a song called Filhos de Gandhi, the sons of Gandhi, and the song is a celebration of a kind of men's fraternal organization in Salvador, in the state of Bahia.
Filhos de Gandhi, Badawe, Ileae, Male de Baleo, Oba. Tem mistério que bate no coração, força de uma canção que tem o dom de encantar. Tem mistério que bate no coração, força de uma canção que tem o dom de encantar. Seu brilho parece sol derramado, céu prateado, mar de estrelas. Revela a leveza de povo sofrido, de rara beleza que vive cantando profunda grandeza. A sua riqueza vem lá do passado, de lá do Congado. Eu tenho certeza, filhas de Gandhi e povo grande.
Since when you think of men's fraternal organization, you think of Masons or something like that. This is not exactly that, although they do meet regularly and they do perform good works in that kind of way. But they also celebrate Yoruban African culture that is the roots of a lot of Brazilian musical creativity. They revere, no surprise, Mahatma Gandhi as kind of an example to be followed. And all that gets thrown into the pot. So you have black Brazilian men singing in Yoruba with kind of the image of Gandhi mixed in with that. And it's just like, what the hell? I mean, it's beautiful, but it comes up with something new. And the song celebrates them. They were kind of being seen as like this fringe outfit during Carnival. And this song came out, I think it might have been written by Gilberto Gil, but it was sung in this case by, what's her name? A woman singer who tragically passed away, has an amazing voice. And at one point, I asked the Brazilian singer and songwriter Caetano Veloso, I said, can you name a song that has actually made a difference in the world? Because we always ask that. Can music actually make a difference, or are we just always preaching to the choir? And he said that song, Filas de Ganji. You'd think he would pick something that was like a protest song about, government repression or something. He said, no, it was this song about this fraternal organization. They were kind of on their last legs and kind of whatever. He said it brought a renewed appreciation, and now they have thousands and thousands of members. They fill the streets during Carnival.
Wow.
He just said and it also made a profound respect for their connection with Yoruban culture, the Orishas and Candomblé and the African gods and all of that, all those connections. This song helped kind of show respect for all that as well. So, yeah, he said that a song did make a difference.
Wow. Did you see Caetano Veloso and Gilberto Gil when they came to the Brooklyn Museum at BAM?
Yeah.
A couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Incredible. Yeah. Just two men and an acoustic guitar, and the place would be. That was a great show. Great album, live recording.
Eita, 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 eita. É a lua, é o sol, é a luz de Tieta, eita, eita. Eita, 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 eita. É a lua, é o sol, é a luz de Tieta, eita, eita. Toda noite é a mesma noite, a vida é tão estreita. Nada de novo ao luar, todo mundo quer saber com quem você se deita. Nada pode prosperar, é domingo, é fevereiro, é 7 de setembro. Futebol e carnaval, nada muda, é tudo escuro até onde eu me lembro. Uma dor que é sempre igual. Existe alguém em nós, em muitos dentre nós, esse alguém que brilha mais do que milhões de sóis e que a escuridão conhece também. Existe alguém aqui, fundo no fundo de você, de mim, que grita para quem quiser ouvir. Quando canta assim,
Well, I mean, I could talk for hours, and it's an honor and a pleasure talking. I loved your book, How Music Works, such a great book. And anyone interested in music and want to learn more about it in a more intellectual way, I highly recommend it. Going back to you and going slightly more intimate, what's your go-to falling in love or heartbreak song?
Oh, it's there was one that I listened to a lot in the beginning of the pandemic, when a lot of us were, it was not love heartbreak, but it was just like social heartbreak.
Social
heartbreak,
yeah.
It was a song by this woman, Christina and the Queens, that she did a song, I think, called People I've Been Sad.
I've been listening.
It's a beautiful song. And what I thought was unique about it is, it's about sadness and depression and how do I get out of this, but it's also very uplifting. The nature of her singing and the music and the beats, it makes you feel like she's going to get through this.
It's true that people have been sad. It's true that people have been gone. It's true that people have been missing out. Missing out for way too long. It's just that me, myself, and I'm missing out for way too long. Been taking cause I should have missing out. Was taking things for way too long.
I love those songs that are kind of helping, and also it's like a confidant, right? You know somebody else went through this, you relate to it, but the music is not, the sound is not putting you down. It's actually an upper. It brings you up. It lifts you. I think that's a very fine combination. It's a beautiful
exactly.
track.
You can relate to it, that somebody else has found a way to express that they are able to express that. And despite the fact that I'm probably nothing like her. I probably, we're probably as different can be, and yet I can definitely connect with this song.
Did you see her? This series Colors called Colors. Her performance.
No, I didn't. I've seen her live here. I saw her live here a few years ago.
Yeah.
It was really great.
Yeah. I mean, but that song she performs in Colors.
Okay.
I'll send you the link. You're gonna love it a lot. It's great because with her body movement to it, it adds another element to it. Before we go to our next question, something else popped into my mind. Do you have a favorite record of yours?
A favorite record? No, I don't think so. No, I'm constantly I'm constantly cycling through records. I'm looking at what's in my music room right now, and it's what's right next to me. It's not the vinyl stuff. The vinyl stuff's near the kitchen.
I like this. Cooking and vinyls go hand in hand. I like that.
Wow, what's this one? All right, here's another Brazilian singer, Marisa Monte.
Ela vai voltar, vai chegar. E se demorar, I wait for you. Ela vem e ninguém mais bela. Oh, baby, I wanna be yours tonight.
Here's one by an Argentine singer, a guy named Lisandro Aristemundo Muñoz. He supported us on tour when we were on tour.
Pido que las noches no se quiebren en tu luz y que las ventanas sean grandes para el sol. Cuando los almendros no se pasen de estación, buscaré más flores para darte mi canción de amor. Atardeceres en los cielos de Beltrán y que tus mañanas siempre sean para hablar. Cuando los jardines no se pasen de estación, buscaré más flores para darte mi canción de amor.
Here's a young singer who now I think just moved to LA, goes by the name of Vagabond. I think she just moved to LA.
Oh, yeah.
Never meant to be you, never meant to be me, never meant to be yours. Never meant for all of this, never meant for you to love, never meant for you to trust. So I'll take my time next time, and I'll do it right. And I'll take my time next time. Only with grace I'll make you a flight in mine. Only with grace I'll take all the words that you said.
This is a jazz record by Maria Schneider called Data Lords. Yep.
I am so excited to tell you that we are getting ready to record again, and this time it's going to be a double album. That idea came when, in these latest times, I felt myself struggling to straddle two opposite worlds. One is the world of computers, the internet, social media, apps, phones, endless information. The other is life, reality, the natural world, human contact, peace and quiet that allows us to really go within or deeply connect to the things around us. I know that I experience the duality of this on almost a daily basis. So it isn't surprising that my music is reflecting both of these opposite worlds. I have never been so inspired writing music, and I'm having fun like I really don't remember. I am just so excited to record this album. And I cannot wait to record these 18 masterful musicians.
Do you get sent a lot of records?
No.
And promos? Or is you literally going out getting this stuff?
Sometimes I get sent things, but I'm often going out and getting them, or either kind of ordering it or buying it or whatever. Yeah.
Do you have a favorite song of your own production?
Now that changes a lot too. I don't listen to my own back catalog very often. I listen to it when I'm preparing a tour or a show because I want to learn. Oh, okay, we're going to have to pick some songs to do and see if we can construct a show out of it. And I listen to how the songs are put together and what seems to resonate with me. And yeah, it's often the case where there's some that I feel like always some that I feel like don't hold up very well. I go, oh,
How come?
it seems like you were kind of you were experimenting here, and it's some nice kind of ideas, but sometimes it feels like I don't know if you can quite pull that off. I don't think you quite pulled it off, but yeah, okay. But I realized, okay, no, I just kept moving on, and some of the things I recorded, I thought, I don't know if I could. Yeah, I don't know if I want to hear that again. But other things I think hold up pretty well.
Could you name one track that holds well?
I actually listened to one yesterday because I thought, what is this song about? It's this song called Self-Made Man. And it's actually it's like a science fiction story. It's about an imaginary future where people can actually trade in kind of genetic modifications. And there's a market for all sorts of things. And so I was trying to imagine what kind of world that would be. And so it works on that level. That's kind of a story or kind of a portrait of a world to come. But it also kind of works on a kind of metaphorical level, I think. I think it does. I think some friends have heard it and they have no idea that that's what I'm referring to. I don't think. So I thought, oh, okay, that's good. That's successful in a way. We're living in a dump, trying to figure out what sex we are, exchanging chromosomes, trying to bargain for a better future. Well, I'll trade you my potential mental illness for your bad teeth. How about trading your sexy body for a full head of hair? Well, we can't predict the future, but we're trying to do the best that we can. My cards are on the table, I'm gambling everything that I have. And some of us are hoping to end up with a perfect life. I'll trade you everything that I got for the chance to be someone else. But what you see is what you get, and what you get is what you choose. And what I have, what you see, is exactly what I chose to be.
Right? It's not immediate. It needs explanation.
Well, yeah, to me
context.
you do, but for other people, they don't need that explanation.
Mm-hmm. Well, going back to some more intimate questions, what's the sexiest song after the heartbreak? You're out and about, feeling super sexy.
I worked on a show called Social Distance Dance Club. and
I love it.
And we did it. We had 100 audience members over like a couple of weeks coming, and I would lead them with my voice. And there was a playlist that we put together with a DJ, and a lot of the songs were, I thought, pretty sexy.
Is that playlist available? Is it online anywhere?
No,
or that was just for the event.
It was just for the event. There were old school kind of dance things like. Songs that I used to dance to, either in clubs or at home or whatever. There was one by a group called the D Train, called "You're the One for Me," and I remember that was always got a lift in the dance floor.
Shout out, you're the one for me. Still love by my side, the world will be mine.
had new songs in there. There was a song by a group called SAULT, S-A-U-L-T, called I Just Want to Dance.
Wildfires.
And yes, which talks about kind of current issues, the current social situation, but it's also a really nice dance track too, which is a nice combination.
I just wanna dance, 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 dance. Makes me feel alive, feel alive. I get kinda mad, 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 mad. We lost another life, 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 life. I just wanna dance, 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 dance. Makes me feel alive, feel alive. I get kinda mad, 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 mad. We lost another life, 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 life.
Love it. Is that social distance dance club going to happen again?
We hope so.
Can
We're-
come become a member?
Yeah. As things open up, we may take out the distance part, but we hope to find ways to do it again.
Love it. Well, David, to wrap up our little chat, if your life would be a movie, what song would play in the end credits?
It really depends on the movie. I was just doing a song for the end of a movie recently. The movie has not come out yet, with a group called Son Lux and a singer named Mitski. And I did a duet with her, and they did the track. And it was for the end of this movie. And I was thinking, at the end of a movie, what do you want? You want something that gives you a slightly new perspective on what you've just seen. You don't want to just repeat what you've just say it again or recapitulate the same idea. You want to kind of like, now's the time to kind of shift a little bit and look back at what you've just experienced from a different point of view. So I thought that's what we tried to do. But I think that's what a song at the end of a movie should do.
Have you done a lot of movie soundtracks?
No, a few, but not very many. No, not very many.
Well, David, it's been a real pleasure and an honor.
Thank you.
I hope that we will get together hopefully very soon in New York at the Social Distance Club. Or not so social distance by then.
Okay. All right. Good talking to you. I'll upload the audio tracks.
Thank you for tuning in this week. If you want to listen to the full playlist, visit areonair.com or our Spotify channel. You can also find us on Instagram and on YouTube at areonair. And a big thank you to my wonderful team at Studio Neu. I'm Armand Lafay, and I'll speak to you soon.